One Way Out. Andor Episode 10 may have been the strongest iteration of the series so far. This one was definitely the most action-packed. Much like Episodes 4 and 5 were slow, leading into the Big Aldani heist in Episode 6, this week was the payoff for the last two episodes. Last week left us with Cassian and Kino Loy learning the truth of the Narkina 5 prison. They were never going to leave. The Empire needs whatever it is that they're building. If they don't act quick, they'll lose a small window and any hope of escape. The time for the inmates to act is now, and it comes in Episode 10, One Way Out. As always, spoilers are ahead, you've been warned. We pick up right where we left off last week in Episode 9. The Doctor, who I didn't realize was actually played by Adrian Rollins, aka Harry Potter's dad. Anyways, he is carrying off the body of Olaf, who died at the end of Episode 9, when Cassian and Kino found out that the Empire is never letting them leave. We jump to Cassian, who is trying to convince Kino that they need to go tomorrow. That is their chance for escape, since the guards will bring a new man down to the factory floor to replace Olaf. Cassian says right now the guards are afraid. They killed 100 men on level 2 just to keep them quiet. Kino calls that power, to which Cassian responds, power doesn't panic. 5,000 men in the prison are going to find out they're never leaving Narkina 5 alive, and with that, more guards are probably on the way. There will never be less guards than tomorrow. They need to act fast. Whatever it is they're building in this factory, the Empire doesn't want any word getting out. As we've theorized over the last 2 weeks, it's gotta be parts for the Death Star. The pair head to the cell block, and Cassian fills the other inmates in on Olaf's death, and the rumors of what went down on level 2 being true. Cassian tries to get Kino to tell them, but he stays quiet until finally snapping. He tells the men they'll die there, or in the next place the Empire ships them off to. It's time to rest and figure things out for tomorrow. Now over to the ISB, who, if we remember from last week, have captured one of Anto Krieger's rebel pilots. They know about an attack planned on an Imperial power station on Spellhouse, and have successfully staged the pilot's death to look like an accident. Now they're waiting for the rebels to commence the attack and fall right into a trap. Supervisor Lonnie, the guy with the mustache who's mainly been in the background, suggests the Empire makes it look like they're taking an interest in the crashed ship, as to not raise suspicion. But at the prison, it's now the next morning. The men are getting ready for their shift as Kino delivers a speech reminding them that there is only one way out. Assume you're already dead and take it from there. They all head to the bridge and to their shift. An announcement declares that bridges will now be silent. The Empire really doesn't want word spreading of what went down on 2. Little did they know, it's too little, too late. The men begin their shift as per usual, churning out the supposed Death Star components. Cassian and Melshi are watching the guards, waiting for their time to strike. We now jump over to Ferrix briefly. There are quite a few stormtroopers stationed at the inn-turned-Imperial base. We overhear a doctor talking to a citizen about Cassian's mother. Her pills are putting her off of her food. Could this be what draws Cassian back to Ferrix in the finale? Cinta is still spying on the Andor homestead. Her and Vel were tasked by Luthen with silencing Andor. Also keeping an eye on the home is this guy in a green jacket. I know he looks familiar. I feel like he may have been an Imperial, likely tasked with also looking for Cassian. I could be wrong on that one though. Now over to Coruscant and Mon Mothma. We know from last week the Chandrillan senator is looking for a way to cover up some money transfers for the rebellion. She's with Tay Kolma once again, who's brought along a Chandrillan thug named Davo. He offers to help Mon move the money, but wants something in return. Not money, but the chance for his son to meet Mon's daughter Leda for a potential arranged marriage. Mon is immediately against this. We know her and her husband Perrin were in an arranged marriage from an incredibly young age, and they seem miserable. Mon does not want any part of this deal, and once she realizes no other offer will be made, she asks Tay to see Davo out. This is definitely going to have big ramifications for Mon. She either needs to consider the offer, or risk the Empire noticing the money, which is being sent to Luthen and the early rebellion. But she doesn't want to put her daughter through the same pain that she went through. Elsewhere on the planet, we head to the glorious Easter egg buffet known as Luthen's shop. This week we see him cleaning a hairpiece which looks incredibly close to one worn by Senator Padme Amidala on Naboo in Attack of the Clones. Could it actually be hers? Perhaps the two were friends way back. We also get another angle of the Wookiee warrior's helmet in all its glory. If you look close enough under the possible Padme hairpiece, we also see another angle of the Jedi Temple guard mask that we saw last week. Now, the Jedi Temple guards were a security force of sentinels that protected the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. They were armed with lightsaber pikes, a double yellow-bladed lightsaber. They served under the Jedi Temple Battle Master Sindralig. One former Jedi Temple guard later fell to the dark side and became the Grand Inquisitor, who around this time is very much alive and well, with Andor taking place around the same time as Star Wars Rebels. Could this mask even be his? That would be really cool. Back to the plot. Clea tells Luthen that someone wants to have a meeting with him face to face and has been leaving multiple signals to indicate this. She calls it risky, but Luthen prepares to go. Who will he be meeting? We'll find out shortly. On Narkina 5, Cassian's table contemplates what's about to go down. Zal just wants out, whereas Taga thinks he's a dead man. Cassian reassures them and walks by Kino, who reminds him, one way out. As Cassian heads to the bathroom, he passes by another inmate who slips him a tool that he stashes up his sleeve. Kino keeps an eye on him, but pretends to give out orders and blend in. Just like last week, Cassian opens a panel in the wall and begins to cut away at some piping. Meanwhile, the guards prepare the new prisoner to be lowered down to the factory floor, with no idea as to what's about to hit them. Cassian uses the tool he snuck in and starts to pry at the pipe, as water starts to leak out. He gives it one final tug, and it's now absolutely gushing. The other inmates have prepared, also having tools and metal parts ready to use as makeshift weapons and throwables. A soaking wet Cassian emerges and gives a nod. There's no turning back now. The water begins to leak out the bathroom and onto the main factory floor, partially disabling the electric shock it can administer to the prisoners. The new man is brought down as Zal and Ham start to fake bicker and fight to distract the guards. When the lift reaches the halfway mark, Cassian again uses that stashed tool to jam the rails, much like he and another prisoner theorized would work last week. One way out. Here we go.
This is where the fun begins.
All hell pretty much breaks loose from here and the guards open fire, although there are only 3 of them. One small detail I missed from last week is the guards are using DH-17 blaster pistols, the same weapons used by the Rebel Alliance aboard the Tantive 4 in A New Hope. Kino yells attack and prisoners begin throwing tools and metal objects at the guards as more attempt to climb up. One of the guards yells spark the floor and Kino instructs everyone to get on their tables. An officer activates the electric floor, but Cassian's plan worked. The water disabled their power and saved anyone who couldn't quite get up on a table. With the prison guard's most effective weapon disabled, the true rush to escape begins. Zal is unfortunately shot, but his sacrifice will not be forgotten. I believe the rest of Cassian's table does in fact make it out. Cassian is the first one who manages to grab a blaster and completely pull himself onto the upper platform. He shoots the remaining guard, and everyone else begins to scale the railings. They are in. The flooding water begins to leak through to the level below, and those on that factory floor start to take notice. They find the guards' weapons storage area, and there are blasters for everyone. You get a blaster, and you get a blaster, and you get a blaster. Cassian and Kino lead the charge as they plan to take the whole facility. The guards start to take notice, however it's far too late and they're far too outnumbered. And things are about to get even worse for those prison guards, as Ham releases another factory level full of men who gladly climb up and join in on the fight. Malshi also does the same on another level. He was given a decent amount of spotlight in one hallway shootout. We know that he will one day become Sergeant Malshi of the Rebel Alliance and fight alongside Captain Cassian Andor on the Battle of Scarif. I'm really glad Tony Gilroy decided to include his character in the series. It's a nice little cameo, but not one that's too forced. A warning comes down from the facility's control room. If the prisoners don't stand down and go on program in 40 seconds, they will activate all of the floors. But before they can follow through with that threat, Cassian and Kino arrive to take control. Kino shoots one officer as an example and demands all floors be shut down before Cassian says no, shut down the hydropower for the entire facility. They shut it down, the facility is on backup power and essentially theirs. In a hilarious move, Cassian forces the officers to go on program.
Well. How the turntables...
Kino heads to the microphone for the facility's PA system, which looks exactly like the one Han Solo used on the Death Star in A New Hope. I love the attention to detail.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Kino is super off at first while trying to talk to the facility. You can tell this is a really emotional moment for him, especially for his character's twist, which comes at the episode's end. But before long, he pulls through and delivers a powerful speech to motivate the escapees. Kino says he would rather die trying to take them out than giving them what they want. This is Andy Serkis at his absolute best. Chants of one way out echo through the halls as more and more prisoners make for an exit. Meanwhile, a bunch of guards are hiding and staying quiet, including one of the guards who first welcomed Cassian to the facility 2 episodes ago. The charge of prisoners, led by Cassian, Kino, and Melshi, make it outside to the landing platform. There really is one way out, as several men begin to jump into the water and swim to safety. Kino looks upset, and Cassian asks him what's wrong. That's when Kino reveals a heartbreaking truth. He can't swim. Just as Cassian learns of this, he and Melshi are pushed in by the growing crowd. God, this really tugged on the heartstrings. Andy Serkis is so fantastic. Kino knew he couldn't swim, and that would be the only way out, but he still helped to lead the escape. Damn. Maybe there's still a way he survives this and we run into him come season 2? I really hope so, but more than likely he jumps in or is pushed and drowns. If he stays, the Empire is absolutely going to kill him. Hey, maybe they experiment on him and he turns into Snoke, am I right? But I really do hope that maybe there's an off chance a couple of other prisoners helped him swim to safety. We now head back to Coruscant, this time to the lower levels. We catch up with none other than Supervisor Lonnie of the ISB. It turns out he is actually a double agent for the rebellion and an informant for Luthen. Lonnie puts on an earpiece to talk with Luthen, who asks him about his children in a way that definitely comes off as threatening. Lonnie tells Luthen about Dedra, who is searching for him. He mentions how she's been investigating stolen equipment and connecting incidents on Ferrex and Aldhani. Luthen wants him to encourage this behavior. Dedra is wasting time, and Luthen is already several steps ahead of her. Lonnie informs him of what went down earlier in the episode, with the ISB staging that pilot's death to make it look like an accident. Luthen, however, insists that they go ahead with that attack. Having Lonnie on the inside is worth far more to the rebellion than the 50 men who will die during the attack. The two finally meet face to face, and Lonnie reveals why he requested the meeting. He doesn't want to do this anymore. He wants to step down from both the ISB and rebellion to be a father. Luthen is like, nope, we have groomed you for too long. The rebellion needs heroes like him to make these sacrifices. Lonnie then questions Luthen as to what exactly he's sacrificing. Luthen gives an emotional dialogue, basically saying everything. Calm, kindness, kinship, love, inner peace, dreams. He reveals that he's been at this for 15 years. So pretty much from the Empire's inception,
the Republic will be reorganized into the first Galactic Empire!
and the events of Order 66 and the Great Jedi Purge. What is his sacrifice? He's condemned to use the tools of his enemy to defeat them, which we've absolutely seen with his darker tactics. Luthen tells Lonnie he'll be staying with him, activating the elevator. To close out the episode, we see that Cassian and Melshi have made it to safety on land and are on the move. But where will they go next week? And that does it for Andor episode 10, leaving us with a very wide open ending. But wow, what an episode this week. Again, I can quite confidently say it was my favorite of the series so far. The prison escape was so damn good, and the acting, especially from Andy Serkis and Stellan Skarsgård, was phenomenal. The only thing missing was Cyril's cereal break. To be honest, I can't say where we're going next week to begin the 2-episode finale. Looking back on the trailers, there's still a larger uprising on Ferrex we've yet to see, as well as the Death Troopers accompanying Dedra, and Luthen's Kyber-powered ship in action. Everything else we seemingly have already seen in the series so far. Things should get interesting. We are relatively in the dark. But feel free to drop any predictions for the finale down below and let us know what you thought of episode 1, or if you think somehow that Kino survived. As always, thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you. Red 5 standing by.